Have you ever thought, why do I suck at fantasy football? Welcome. This is the Commissioner Fantasy Football Podcast.
Hey, welcome back to another episode here with the Commissioner, your host, your guide, going over fantasy football. I know it's off season and most people that regularly play don't pay attention, but this is the time to pay attention to the things that are going on in the NFL. Big news that just came out this weekend. Everybody knows about Deshaun Watson. That's asking for a trade. We don't know what's going to happen with him. So there's a lot of ifs and buts in Houston. And then the big news here, my favorite quarterback to watch. I think he's underrated. I mentioned him so many times on the podcast. Is Matthew Stafford. And the Detroit Lions have said, hey, we're going to part ways now. We're not going to prolong our relationship. We're done. He's 32 years old. There's a lot of teams he can land on. And so I think that's the biggest news in the offseason. I know there's a lot of free agents still out there. So it's a sure thing. Looks like the Lions even told their new coach that, hey, Matthew Stafford is not a part of the future. And they still took the job. And then Anthony Lynn, now he's the offensive coordinator. The ex-Chargers coach is now the offensive coordinator in Detroit. Knew the same news, so it's very interesting. It just recently came out, and I'm happy for Stafford. I'm happy he's going to find a new home. I hope it's a good one. I hope they trade him to a place where he can actually win, go to the playoffs. Colts are a great team to go on. Good offensive line, decent wide receivers, not the greatest. T.Y. Hilton's getting up there in age. I know Pittman's, a tall, nice, tall receiver like a Golladay. Golladay is also a free agent, so there's a lot of free agents that we don't know where they're going to go. But Matthew Stafford going to the Colts is good. Another team is the Broncos, loaded with wide receivers. And one of my favorites is Washington, the Washington football team. They have McLaurin, Logan Thomas, good wide receivers, speedsters. Both of the Sims are on there. You got a decent Antonio Gibson in the running back. A good defense. So that team, and Rivera's their coach, a good coach. So hopefully he lands somewhere great. I'm just a big Stafford fan. I think he's an amazing talent, and this is great for fantasy. So, all right, today we're going to discuss and kind of review and go over the running backs of 2020, because now we're in 2021. So remember the first, and I want to go over the first running backs that go almost in the last couple of seasons. Christian McCaffrey has been the number one guy. Alvin Kamara is in that, so you got like 5 of them. Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon Barkley, and you also have Dalvin Cook that kind of got himself in there, and he's proven himself last 2 years to stay healthy and to perform well. Again, Saquon Barkley lost for the entire season. Christian McCaffrey, people took him all around. I took him in 2 leagues, and it's hard to survive when you take a pick, your first pick, and all of a sudden he's gone most of the season. So these are the guys that are still going to be up there because most of them are young. Ezekiel Elliott is still young, even though he had a rough season being healthy. But I want to talk about him because even before Dak was lost, he had some fumbling issues, going over some not as dominant as you want your first round pick to be. And that's a problem, right? So a lot of Zeke owners, they try to trade him away. They try to get rid of him. And that's fine. But I think don't give up on Zeke. And he's a target for me next year because you might get him in early second round or late first round, which I think is a great place to take a guy they're going to depend on. Now for next year, even this past year, I even said for Zeke, Pollard is a guy to get as a handcuff. You need to have, he's talented. So there's some running backs where you take in the first round, target their backups. That's what I said about Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, even some of they never, it's not like they always work out, but it's great to have their backup because these teams are run heavy teams. They use their running backs a lot. I know things have changed for Dallas, but when Dak went out, we don't have a great script of McCarthy, the new coach there, without Dak majority of the season. So there's a lot of ifs there, but I won't go for Zeke in early first round. But if he's there in the late first round, early second round, I'm going to take him. He's going to be my target. So don't give up on him. He's still young. And another guy that was a big disappointment was Clyde Edwards-Helaire, CEH. Most people, analysts everywhere, talked about him because, not just because he's a talented running back, but remember the reason was Kansas City. Every running back in Kansas City, Damian Williams, Kareem Hunt before. You go list by list. And if you remember, even Spencer Ware succeeded in Kansas City under Andy Reid. So going into this season, we expected any running back that's going to be a starter in Kansas City to be great. And that didn't work out. For whatever reason, it was not utilized enough in the passing game. You know, they used Darrell Williams, then they got Le'Veon Bell, and even when CH got injured, Le'Veon Bell didn't do anything. So it's rough sledding in Kansas City now. So I feel like there's going to be definitely, he's not going to go in the first or second, but I will target CEH in the third. If he's there, fourth, I'll take him. I'll take another chance on him. And also look out for what happens with Damian Williams too. But definitely CEH was a big bust. And for me, the guys that get injured is not a bust. It's the guys that were there like Zeke. You took him early first, middle first, CEH middle first, and they busted for you. So those are unfortunate. It happens every season. But we're going to talk about running backs for next year. And I'm going to give you the advice that I still go with for running backs. I always draft running back heavy. It makes it successful because I was in a league. It's not that competitive league, but it's a league of 10 team. And I took 4 running backs back to back to back. So I remember CH was my first pick. Aaron Jones, I remember getting Miles Sanders and Joe Mixon. And look, Joe Mixon got injured, didn't play all season. CH was a bust. Aaron Jones and Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders wasn't that great, but Aaron Jones kept me, and I won a championship with those kind of. And I played around. I got other running backs in there. I had, when Joe Mixon went down, I had Bernard as his backup on my lineup. So because I went heavy on running backs, I felt like it kept me not looking for more, right? You get some couple of running backs. I used Joe Mixon when he was available, and CEH had some decent games. So for me, going running back heavy has always been the key. And why is because it's a foundation that I built. Because running backs tend to get injured. Running backs tend to not perform as we expect them to perform. So for me, the more early running backs, the more talented running backs I have, the better I feel, because wide receivers will come up out of nowhere. You're going to get wide receivers performances from guys nobody expected, the guys that weren't drafted. So wide receiver for me is kind of an open book. It's kind of like, hey, I'll try to take a few talented guys, like even to Galladay in that league. I took Galladay and Ridley. Ridley helped me out, and then I played around with other wide receivers. And so I really believe that building a foundation on running backs is the key. That's just me. You can do your own strategy. But a lot of teams who, for example, took Michael Thomas in the first round, he was a big bust. I mean, he was injured as well, but you lost. You lost your first round. I mean, your pick. And then you didn't get a good running back, and your running back's struggling. So I never try to target a wide receiver in the first round. Even, for example, next year, Devonta Adams is going to be there. I rather take a running back. I feel more comfortable going running back, or running back, wide receiver, running back, and then targeting wide receivers a little later. But that's my strategy. So it was a tough year for running backs. A lot of them did great. A lot of rookies. If you stuck with Jonathan Taylor, man, it's just that he had that middle of the season where you're kind of like, what happened? Everybody's like, why? We even talked about it in here. What happened to him? But look, he came through, and he looks like a stud. So for me, he's kind of pushed himself as a top, for me, as I'm ranking my rookie wide receivers from 2020. Jonathan Taylor for me is up there. Talent, O-line, opportunity. I know Hines is there and he's the pass catcher, but I still believe that Jonathan Taylor, his talent is just going to get better and better. He's a Zeke. Everybody's saying he's like a Zeke. He's like a Saquon Barkley. He's that type of talent. So I'm glad it proved. So he's the guy to target in the first round next year. So let me go over my top 5 running backs to target if you have a top 5 pick. So for me next year, if you're pick 1 through 5, get your running backs. These are the running backs. Number 1, Christian McCaffrey. People are might not even pick him as a first pick because, you got injured. Watch, Kamara is going to go number 1. You'll see. Kamara was healthy. He finished as a top running back. So everybody's going to be picking him as number 1. Especially in PPR leagues, it makes sense. I'm scared. Again, Kamara is a great talent. Drew Brees might not be there. Taysom Hill if he's the starting quarterback, he's going to steal rushing touchdowns. Is he going to throw to Kamara that much? I don't know. If Jameis Winston comes in, Jameis Winston never had a successful running back. So there's a lot of questions with Alvin Kamara next year. I still will take him top 5, but he's not my first choice. Christian McCaffrey is my first choice no matter who's on the team. Christian McCaffrey, it doesn't matter who's the quarterback. They run the offense through Christian McCaffrey. He's still young, super talented. He's going to be the number 1 guy for a few more years unless something drastic happens. So for me, Saquon Barkley is number 1. Number 2, and this is where I was kind of like, for me, it is Dalvin Cook. And there's a little asterisk with it, right? If you're taking Dalvin Cook, Alexander Mattison is a must. Take him in the 6th, 7th. Don't have somebody else take him. Make sure you get Alexander Mattison. For me, I went to a championship because I did that. I took Dalvin Cook. He had a great season. Now back-to-back seasons. A few injuries. Look, it's going to happen. Running backs are going to get injured. But he's been proven to be on the field for the last couple of seasons almost 90% of the time. So I'm sticking with Dalvin Cook as my number 2. I think talent with Cousins. Again, he's the center, pretty much the center of their offense. And if he's gone, Alexander Mattison steps in. And he had a bad game when Cook was out. But even at the end of the season, you can see Mattison is talented. He's been there for a few years now. Super talented guy. So that's what I would do. CMC, Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook. Now, number 3, this is where I tend to kind of go, okay, if you're in the full point PPR league, Alvin Kamara is the next guy to take. I still am going to trust him. And I'm kind of in between him and Saquon Barkley. Like, that team, the Giants, that were supposed to be great, right? They got a better defense. Their defense a lot better. So I think this coming year, I might even take Saquon Barkley, and because people are going to pass up on him, but he might be my 3rd above Alvin Kamara. But it's for me, it's whatever, right? 3rd and 4th, you can make a choice. But look, I'll put Alvin Kamara as number 3. And then Saquon Barkley is number 4. And then, look, for me, Zeke is out of the top 5 now. I think he's a value. I think he's going to drop down in drafts. So he's a target for me, but not here. Here is where I will take Jonathan Taylor. He stepped into that role. That team made the playoffs with Phillip Rivers, whose career ended. Like, he gave as much as he could, and you could tell, look, he doesn't have what he used to have. It matters what kind of quarterback they have, so I'll be watching that. But right now, no matter what quarterback, Jonathan Taylor has kicked himself into that top 5 running back, top 5 pick in the first round. I will be targeting him. He's the guy to target. Some other running backs I want you guys, so I'm just doing top 5 for next year, but I want to go over some of the other running backs that might fall in drafts, but don't give up on these guys. For me, it is Joe Mixon. Look, new quarterback, right? You got Joe Burrow coming as a new quarterback. There's nobody else there. Giovanni Bernard's getting old. He's older. Joe Mixon's still young. And you could tell some of the games Joe Mixon played, he's utilized so much in the year before. So I will be targeting him because, again, he might be pushed down to the 3rd round. Man, if he's in the 3rd round, man, I'm taking this guy because there's so much upside. A second year with Joe Burrow. There's so much, and I feel like they're going to go out and try to get a better O-line surrounding him. But even with their O-line from last year, Joe Mixon looked like a stud. For me, he's a stud. And so I will be targeting him. Another disappointment last year is Miles Sanders. This is another guy to go after. He might drop in drafts. He went like in the 2nd round. He might go 3rd round. This is another guy to target. Josh Jacobs had a tough season. And I don't like Coach Gruden. I'm not a big fan of his, and I feel like he's limiting the talent of Josh Jacobs. But he's another guy that might be end of second round. I'm targeting him. Ronald Jones. Now, if Fournette leaves the Buccaneers, if he's gone, and it's Ronald Jones and Keyshawn Vaughn, which is the rookie, he has some playing time. I feel like he's going to get more playing time, but Ronald Jones is another guy to target. Look, he's going to probably be in the 5th, 6th round. Grab this guy because if Fournette is gone, with Brady loves the dump offs. You could tell even in Bruce Arians' system, how many times he dumped it off to Fournette and Ronald Jones. And I feel like another year with Brady, if Fournette is gone, Ronald Jones is going to be solid. Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb proved he gets injured, okay, but he proved to be the guy there. Kareem Hunt, we thought he was playing without Chubb. Not great, but that duo is still for me. I would still take Kareem Hunt in the later rounds. I'm not going to take him early, but Nick Chubb is a guy. He's still young. Go after him. Antonio Gibson is the next guy. He looks so good. And if Matthew Stafford goes to Washington, they're still going to have a run game. Antonio Gibson is another guy to target. And the last guy is DeAndre Swift. Depends what quarterback they get. But I think with Stafford gone, if Galladay's gone, the offense is going to go through, if they get whatever quarterback to, I don't know which quarterback they'll get. If it's like Deshaun Watson, then maybe that's the worst case scenario for Detroit if they end up getting him, which I don't think they will, but he's the worst case scenario. He's not a guy who dumps it off. A lot of other quarterbacks do that. So for me, DeAndre Swift is going to be a focal point in Detroit's offense, especially if Galladay leaves and now Matthew Stafford is gone. I think him and Hawkinson are going to get a lot of volume, especially with the new quarterback coming in, not establishing, and these guys are, again, Hawkinson is a big target. DeAndre Swift is a great running back, great pass catcher. So those are some of the guys to look for. And again, I'll be going over before the season starts in 2021. I'll probably change a lot. But remember, the top five picks, not just running backs, but top 5 picks for 2021. Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, and Jonathan Taylor. So those are my picks as of now. Things might change, but look, any questions? I'll be doing more episodes. I'm going to do wide receivers, tight ends, and no kickers. So I'm not going to talk about kickers. Kickers are the worst. Get rid of kickers. And we're trying to get rid of defenses too, because it's not even fun playing with the defense, right? It's just so many frustrations. And so whatever, I'm not going to get into that now. But hey, any questions, hit me up. Give me a follow on Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube. And until next time, we'll be talking about our receivers. Take care. Go Pack Go.
Dude, you better not be sleeping after that podcast. That was an amazing message. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Commissioner. Also subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Any comments, questions, concerns, send them to the Instagram page, The Commissioner, your fantasy football guide.